like I was saying to you last time, that I think it's like it's great that you're covering the women's side of it as well, because a lot of it is covered mostly on the men, isn't it? Really, coming from Uganda, and they did the businesses and everything and all that. And when I think about my mum and dad, I mean, we were poor, we weren't rich or anything like that at all. And originally it was my dad's friend who helped my dad to actually pay for some of the fare for him to come to England. And he was a I'm sure he was a Sikh guy, and so he kind of like helped him to actually, because we were very poor, you know. My dad, we lived in a flat, he was just a ordinary clerk there, and that's what I kind of know the knowledge of and everything. And he was always very quite ill there as well, because he had suffered from asthma, but very badly over there in Tanzania, in Dar es Salaam. For some reason, his asthma was really bad there and everything. And the reason I think about covering about women is to say that how our women, even the Asian women, sometimes sometimes it's not shown how strong they are. And my mum used to tell us these stories that when they were living there, and at that time, you know, they lived in this flat which was like quite like through like a little, I would say, a bit of a jungly kind of foresty kind of type. The you know, the flat would be, and he would be so ill with asthma and everything, so she would have to take him to the nearest hospital or something, and obviously, you know, ask somebody to come and, you know, help her or whatever. But what I used to admire about her, I used to think, God, you were so strong. It was so dark, and it was so in this country where you like, you know, and you just walk through the jungle really to get to this place. And when she used to come, she said, yeah, and it was just said in passing. It was like no big deal. I mean, it's like then, what, you used to go, we used to walk through a jungle to call somebody. That's right, to go and call somebody to say, can you come and see my husband, help my husband to take him to the hospital. So she literally had to walk because they didn't have a car, didn't have anything, the transport. And she used to say, yeah, I used to run through the like a little jungle and get to the other house and call my friend and say, and then they used to call because they had a telephone and we didn't have one. But it was like no fear, nothing at all. It was like no big deal about it. And then you start realising that how your mum was so strong. You kind of like think, wow, you kind of dealt with these things and there were funny stories as well. Like, for instance, she used to say that because I think I told you that her dad was in the army, so they ended up in, you know, and ended up in Africa. And of course she loved it there because it was like total freedom and everything, you know. So I think she was a little bit of a rebel anyway from the beginning, you know what I mean? And she used to say, yeah, we used to go around and pinch people's mangoes from their gardens, you know, because we used to think, well, you know, they don't eat them, so we do. You know. And I used to say, what, you literally climbed up trees? Because you see your mum as a mum, don't you? You're going to like think, you literally, yeah. Did you really do that? And she goes, yeah. She says, that's the excitement, what you miss here. And this is how it used to come out, because in this country, when we came to this country, and when I was like a 9, 10-year-old, 11-year-old, and she used to come out with these stories sometimes, and she used to say, that's why she felt quite depressed when she first came to this country, because that freedom had gone. It was cold, dark, and all of a sudden none of her friends were around, and she was just stuck in this house and didn't know the way, where to go, how to get there, didn't know the language on top of that. Whereas back there, she was a ruler. She was like, you know, I could do anything here, even go through a jungle, and it doesn't matter to me. But yeah, when he come here, she absolutely hated it. because she felt that she was like in a prison, and because you were in this house, and she didn't go to work because my dad didn't want her to go out to work anyway. Because of the kids, he wanted her to, to be there for the kids and everything. But that's one of the reasons that when she used to say, I hate being here because it's like somebody's imprisoned me, because I can't talk to anybody, I can't go out and everything. And then after a little while, obviously, when the neighbours moved in and they were Indian, and then you start getting that communication going and everything. But she used to say how much we've actually missed out on growing up in that country. Whereas she said if at 10, 11, if you were in that country, you would be going to the beach, you'd be running there, going there, doing all these things what we did. Whereas here, you can't do that. You just in a house all the time, And I used to feel quite kind of like bad for her, because I thought you were this free bird and you've been captivated now, you know what I mean? You're just captured, and you're not like, and plus because she didn't go out to work, so it was hard for her to make friends as well and everything. But then obviously, like I said, the neighbours, moved in and everything, so she started to have like talking to them and everything. But again, there was this thing about, because we had come from Africa, and they were from actual Pakistan, and so my mum still didn't have that kind of a freedom with them in a way, because they didn't have that kind of open mind like my mum did,
because they hadn't been exposed to that kind of
exactly
life.
They had come still back from a really very kind of a closed background, and think, oh God, you're Pakistani and you did these kind of things, you know what I mean? And even for us to have, even for me, when we were, this is living at East Park Road, which is in the area where you are at the moment, and even at that time, as I was growing up, and I started to understand what the problem was, and I didn't understand, because I was thinking what they're on about, because we didn't have any differences. Because my mum and dad's most of the friends, they were from Africa, and they were all different religions, and from different countries. So we had he had Hindu friends, he had Sikh friends. His best friend was a Sikh friend, and he had Sikh friends, Hindu friends, and he hardly had any Pakistani friends, and he didn't really want to have much to do with them either, And my mum was the same. But then when the neighbours kind of moved in, and they were like Pakistani, and my mum couldn't really relate to them too much. I mean, the normal stuff, yeah, you did that and everything. And then, of course, my very best friends were like Hindu as well. And my mum could speak Gujarati, and, and I kind of learned to speak Gujarati as well. Because my friends were Gujarati, and like I said, they lived in the next street. So we were in and out. I was always in and out with them. But how I picked up the language, I don't know. But it was a matter of respect, because when I went to their house, even the dad could speak English, but the mum couldn't speak English too much. But I used to speak in Gujarati to them, even if I, whatever the words I knew, I would speak in Gujarati with them. And it was a great relationship, because they treated me like their own daughter, like my mum and dad treated. But it was amazing to see that even my neighbours at that time couldn't understand how we're allowing Hindu people to come to our house. So this is the difference between the people from Africa and the people from India, Pakistan, that they couldn't understand how can you have such a close Hindu person coming to your house. And that's what my mum just could not she just couldn't take that, and she said, well, we lived in Africa, and all my friends, we went to Hindu temples, we went to Christian temples, churches, we went to Sikh temples, people came to our mosques, and come Diwali, come Eid, everything. We celebrated everything, and they just couldn't understand that, and it was really sad because there again, straight away, this racism starting in your own community, saying that, and it really kind of upset my mum and dad, saying, well, how come your daughter's got Hindu friends? And they come and go and all this and that, because her mum and dad used to come to my house as well and stuff like that. And my dad's best friend, he was a Sikh guy. Now you couldn't miss him even if you tried to, because he was like about 7 foot tall, And when you're little, you look, they look huge, don't they? When you're like, I remember I must have been only 8-9 years old or something, and he used to live in not Leicester. He used to live in Leamington Spa, and he didn't have any sons. He had 6 daughters, and I think he had all 6 girls. And he's an amazing guy. I just remember seeing him and thinking, wow, you're big, and amazing. And it really used to be great, because my dad really, really, and he looked up to my dad so much. And my dad, and he was the guy who helped my dad as well, in financially as well. But he was such a humble guy. He's this big, tall man, with a big turban and a beard and really handsome guy though, tall guy, and he had 6 daughters, and he wanted to go to Pakistan. And the day, I remember when he came to our house, and the neighbours were like totally disgusted.
What did they say?
And they said, how come a Sikh guy is coming to your house? And it's like, what is your problem? So my dad said, well, what's wrong with that? What's this guy has saved my life. This is the guy who gave me money to come to this country. So no Pakistani guy offered that to me, but this guy did, and he's a brother to me, so tough shit, and they kind of like didn't say anything after that, because my dad, you wouldn't argue with my dad anyway, because he just not in a nasty way, in a very he was very intellectual, yet he never could study anything because he had to look after his brothers and everything. That's another story, but he never was rude, but he would put it in a way that you kind of like think, oh, well, I'm being stupid here now, I shouldn't have said that.
Was he born in Africa?
No, he was born in Pakistan. Okay, he was born in Lahore.
So,
but he had that class about him.
Yeah.
And but at a very, very young age, he lost his dad, and his dad was a very big judge. Courtroom judge. He was a massive judge, and everybody knew them. But he lost his father at a very young age. My dad was only about 12, 13, and he had 2 of the younger brothers. So he gave everything up. His mother never got married again. He gave everything up and brought his brothers up. But in between that, he got married to my mum. And that's how my mum went to go to Pakistan, and she brought them up as well with him, Their relationship was amazing. My mum and dad's relationship was just like amazing. They purely were like together, But that's another story. But he went then when they got married, and after a few years or something it was, then he went to Africa. And
was that through the army?
Not my dad.
Oh, okay.
That my mum was through the army there.
Oh.
But my mum, to get married to him, she went back to Pakistan, because he was again in the relatives thing. It was, So she got married. She went back to Pakistan, and then she got married to him. Then she had to stay there because of the situation.
What was going on at the time?
Because he couldn't leave his brothers because he had lost his father. He was supporting his mum and his kid. Even even yet he was a judge and everything, but everything was gone, because he had gone, everything had gone. So it was like survival, really. So he had to work and kind of make them get them to study and everything and all that. I mean, they had, people were helping them still, but even so, then, so she stayed there then, because they couldn't leave, and till after a long time she stayed with them over there till they were like, I think in probably their 20s or something like that. Probably, I don't know, but he sacrificed his education, and he always regretted that. He didn't regret it, but he always said it, that I sacrificed my education because if I did educate, I would have become something. Because he loved education, he loved it, and that's why he was so persistent for getting his kids to have in Africa, because at that time you think it's better education as well. And also that's why he wanted to get the kids out and come to England, because he wanted them to become something. He was very, very persistent that I want them to have the best education they can have. So that's one of the reasons that we kind of like he wanted to do that. But when he managed to, one of the brothers became a lecturer at university. He was a teacher, then he became a university lecturer, and then one of them was the youngest one. He went in the government, he was hierarchy, top notch, everything. But my dad didn't get much rewards out of that. Yeah, he did all that for them, but that's another story. But then obviously they came to Africa and they were raising the kids there and everything. But again, it was my mum's like strongness, which I had admired, that she stayed there. She brought those boys up, and then when she came back here, she had the kids in Africa, once they were growing up and everything. And but saying, that's the reason again, so when she came here, to her being such a open and as kind of like a independent person, again you were brought back into the country where it was like, oh, what I'm going to do, I do want to go to work, but I can't because I want to bring my kids up, but it's like learning to catch the buses, having that independency, confidence of catching the bus. And she used to say to me, right, if I catch the bus, if I go from there, and I used to think, oh my God, is she going to get there or what, And I used to say, well, go with Dad, and then you'll know. Yeah, but when Dad's at work, what do I do then, So we literally kind of like used to take her through and say, right, if you catch the bus here, and then you'll come off there. But it was very scary for her, because you didn't catch buses in Africa. You didn't know the language. So you didn't know the language. You didn't. You kind of. It's like being a child again, And she goes, and she says, well, if I was in Africa, she said, I wouldn't have to ask anything, would I? I'll be just like, doing everything. And but then she did learn to confident to catch the buses and go shopping and everything. I think if she could do it, and if we had that money, she would have even learned to drive. Whereas my dad never learned to drive. He liked his practical, he liked to catch buses, walk, everything. And he said, I'm not bothered, I don't want to learn to drive, but I want all my kids to learn. So as soon as we were like 17, I was 17, get in the learning, get the car, get the learning, never stopped us from doing that, what really, really kind of made sure we did. And same with my mum. She was very much into that as well. She said, no, you've got to learn. And I used to say, Mum, you can learn to drive now even. You can still do it. And she used to say, no, you do it now. Come on, you've got to, don't kind of like miss out on that. You have to do that. And the funny story was that because for her to able to learn to speak, to get a bit more English, I mean, my dad was fine because his English was perfect. He was fine, but my mum obviously was struggling to able to speak English and everything, and it was annoying her because she didn't have the same power like she did in Africa, because she knew Swahili, she knew Gujarati, she knew Punjabi, so anybody who she would be able to communicate, she could. Whereas here, you know, mostly it was white, so how do I, you know, that was holding her back, you know.
What language did you speak at home with them? Did you speak all of those languages?
Well, most of the time I spoke in Urdu a lot with her, because my dad didn't like Punjabi too much. He liked Urdu, and he said Urdu is a beautiful language, and I'm wanting to learn that. But they used to speak in Punjabi with each other, but with us, they would speak in Urdu, and it was so funny because like we're saying like, oh, it's all right for you lot to speak Punjabi, what about us, you know? But we could understand everything, and we can speak it as well, so we can speak Punjabi as well. But he kind of like preferred us to speak in Urdu as well. So she used to say, you know, my mum used to say, well, speak to me in English, you know, and I used to say, it was weird because when I came back from school, I didn't want to speak to my mum in English. It just didn't feel right. I wanted to speak to in my own language because I wanted to learn my own language as well, but I felt more with mum, you know, oh, that's my mum, so I want to speak my own language. And she said, well, why don't you speak? I said, well, I can't, mum. I said, when you come back from school, I want to speak in my, you know, I don't know whether it was not feeling respectful or it was like, you know, I want to speak in my own language with her, and I felt that that's something nice for her as well. That she's been at home all day, and you know, not able to communicate a lot with everybody. But you know, I don't want to start speaking English to her as well. But so we got her a teacher, an English teacher, to teach her English, to come home and teach English. And it was really sweet listening to them, you know, in one of the rooms, in the front room, sitting there, and she was like teaching and everything. And the teacher says to her, your husband can speak English, your children can speak English, why don't they speak to you in English, you know? Why? And my mum says, well, my daughter's here, why don't you ask her? And she asked me, and she said, why don't you speak to your mum in English? I said, I don't feel right, I don't feel respectful to speak to her in English. And I said, I want to speak my language, I don't want to lose my language. I'm the younger generation, I don't want to lose out on that, because that's one thing which makes me feel very close to my parents and my culture as well a little bit, that I can speak to her. And I don't know what it is, but I couldn't, even with my dad, I couldn't speak in English to him. Yet I knew he could speak proper English, and he used to say to us, our English is appalling.
At what age did you so you left Tanzania at the age of 4?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So do you remember it, much of it?
I do. Not so much, but I do remember where I lived. I remembered, because I didn't go to school there, so. But I remember the actual flat, the road, what we lived on, which was just sand. It wasn't a proper road or anything like that. So you come down, we lived in a flat, so there was a flat on the top and a flat at the bottom. And they both had balconies, and we lived on the top, and the staircase was from outside. So I remember the staircase going up and down from the case, and obviously the people who were living underneath us, the bottom flat, you know, they were the kid. They had kids as well, so we would all kind of like speak from the balconies and say, right, are we meeting out there then, or you know, we're gonna. And the balconies were different because you didn't have any railings in front or anything like that, so it was just like a flat concrete stage, really. So no health and safety there. Yeah, that was just, it was a flat base. So you were in the bottom base, and on the top base, nothing there either. It was just a block there like that. because on the top were there railings or not? Might have been railings on the top one. I can't remember, but I remember in the real hot days and Ramzan time, we used to sit outside and eat, and our neighbours from the bottom I don't think they were Muslim or anything, I can't remember what they were, but my mum used to say, come and join us, you know, we're having food we're opening our rosa, come and eat it. And they used to join us, you know, we used to join them. And when they used to have whatever they did, we used to go and join them. So we used to communicate like that from top to bottom. But the one thing I never forget, they say that you never forget the horrible things what happened to you, don't they, at times. Yeah. But when we went to the I was playing on that bottom balcony area, and that did not have anything. I know that because that was just a flat piece of concrete block, like. But it was just an extension there, so you can, you know, sit there and whatever. And I was playing there with one of the kids or whatever, and I actually fell from there. And I fell, but I landed on the sand because it was all sand. So I landed on the sand. And I sprained my my arm. So actually, I thought I'd broken it, but I obviously didn't break it. I think it was just sprained badly and everything. And I remember the pain of that, falling from there on the sand. Wow. And thinking, oh, I can't move here now, I can't move my arm. And then I remember them taking me to the hospital and having the plaster done. So I had to have a plaster on it for a long time, you know. And I was horrible. I remember trying to itch it.
Oh no!
You know, you used to get pencils and things to go in there like that, you know. And Sophia probably will say, "You never told me this story." She'll get really upset.
Oh, I have to send this to her.
But that, yeah, I fell down and I hurt myself there. But you know, you just. Still did the same, still went again and played on there because it was just like a, you know, extension of a garden. You just played on it, you know. But the other thing I do remember is my mum and dad in the weekends taking us to the beach because it was just a walk away, 5-10 minutes walk, and we used to go to the beach. And because we weren't rich or anything like that, that was such a treat for us to go there, go on the beach. And he was a great swimmer, and so he would go in the water and everything. But he would take us to the beach, we would go on the beach, and I used to I don't know what that fruit is called in English. I know Sophia actually did a research and she did find it, but I can't remember now. And it was like plums, but little just dark purple colour, and they grew on trees. And for some reason they always used to sell them a lot on the beach, and my dad knew that I loved those. So because on the beach they sold mugo, you know, and peanuts and popcorn and that fruit. And so I remember they used to, out of newspaper, they make a spiral cone for you, and they put that fruit in there for you, or whatever you wanted, you would have that. And that was our day out on the beach, you know, and it was such great excitement treat, you know. We went to the beach, and there was a hotel there, which is still there apparently, because my friend at work confirmed me. And she says, I said, "Oh, is that hotel still there?" She goes, "Yeah." She said, "Yeah, we used to think that all the rich people go there, and we want to go in there one day for a cup of tea, but we couldn't afford to go." Because it was such a big thing, you know, to go, because you always think that, oh, it's all the rich people going there. And I said to her, "Is that hotel still there?" She goes, "Yeah, it's still there." I said, "Is it still for the rich people?" She goes, "There, everybody goes now." I said, "I never went there." I said, "We never went there because we were too poor to go there." But she said that if I went now, she says, "You wouldn't recognise anything." But the flat probably be still there, but it would be like a road, and it's. She says it's very city now. It's
right.
You know, become a city like and everything. But my sister's school is still there, and because we searched it on Google and everything. And she said, the school, it looks much better now than it did when she went to it. And again, she was like saying the amount we walked to get to the school at that time. It was a long, long walk, you know, and yeah, parents didn't have any worries at all. It was just like, you know, you go in there. And I mean, obviously it's a shame that she's not here because she would have loads of more stories to tell you. But whereas me, I was only there till like 4 or 5 year old, but I remember those things. And I remember the time, I think I've told that sphere as well, but I remember that time when I was playing again on the road near our flat, because the flat's there and we were just playing on the road. And because the staircase was from outside, and I saw this black guy going up the stairs, and I freaked out, and I thought, this is the thief going up there. And it was a thief. He was a thief, you know, and he's going up the stairs, and I thought, oh my God, he's going to my house. He's going to our house. And I started to shout, thief, thief, you know. And the lady, at that time, my mum and dad weren't there. And it was the lady downstairs, she was there. And she goes, oh, what? I saw this black man gone up the stairs, and, you know, and I knew nobody was in the house. And she goes, all right. And obviously everybody starts shouting, you know, that was the thing. Everybody started shouting, George. And this guy just ran, and he just jumped from the stairs, and he just ran off, you know. And I can remember that as clear as anything today. My mum had a very confident relationship with the Africans. She was very confident with them. My dad wasn't. He never was confident with them. And I think deep down, he never really did trust them. Whereas my mum fully trusted them. She was like, I think because she knew the language really, really well, and she'd been there from a young age, so she didn't have any fears at all. Whereas my dad, coming from Pakistan, you never saw a black person there. So it was harder for him to get adjusted to that and to accept that is okay and is fine and everything. And that's another reason that he never really fully learned to speak the language. He could speak it really well, quite well, but not as much as my mum. And he didn't have the same kind of relationship what he had with an African guy or a woman. What, you know, she had was completely different to what he did. He was a grown-up man when he came from Pakistan.
Right. How old was he? In the 20s?
Yeah, he was in
And how old
late 20s.
was your mum when she...
Well, my mum, when she was in Africa, because she was with the dad at that time, she was like from 12, 13.
Okay, yeah.
Hanging around there, like, you know, a teenage life she spent there.
And did they then go back to Pakistan?
Yeah, when she got married at the age of 18, so she from like probably 11 to 18, she was in Africa.
And around what years was that? Was that before partition that she came to Africa?
No. Yeah, it was before partition because my sister was born in Pakistan. Yeah, because they got married in Pakistan, so they went there, and then I think they had they had my sister there, and then after that they came here. So it was after the partition.
Oh, right, wow.
And
was the house still there, and their family still using their hall?
In the partition?
Yeah.
When the partition happened, I can't remember a lot. I don't know a lot about that, but because my dad was originally in Lahore, so they were in Lahore, but still it was all together, wasn't it? So they were still involved in the separation, the partition. They were involved in it, but I wouldn't know a lot about that. I don't know how, but all the family was safe, and they all were, you know, together in Pakistan. So they had nobody in India after the partition. All the family was in Pakistan.
Okay. Yeah. So they went back to Pakistan after partition, and then is that right? And then, or did did they stay?
No, my mum was in Africa. She was a single lady at that time.
Okay.
So at the age of about 18...
Was that sort of around the 50s or early?
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. It probably is about there, yeah. Because when did the partition happen? Was it in the 40s, wasn't it? Yeah. So it'd be early to that she was in Africa.
Yes, yeah.
Because she experienced the partition.
So she was, if it was 40, she experienced that. Wow,
Yeah.
okay. So if it was 47, so she was 20 around that time when she was your sister. So then, let's say, and then she was...
she probably went back to Pakistan when she was only 15, 16. And then she got married, probably 17 or something like that. So she must have, she because she did experience the partition. Because now I remember one thing that is so funny, because we didn't know this, and it just came out a few months ago. My sister was saying this telling me, she says, I didn't know this, but she says, do you know, Dad, when you used to take my son out for my nephew, this is, so my sister had 2 boys, she had 2 kids, and they used to live in Leicester, and when she used to come and visit us, and my dad was like totally with his grandchildren, he was like and he would take my nephew and take him to do everything what he was going to do, like go to the laundry. We didn't have a washing machine. It was going to the laundry, going to the shops, and he would take him. And my sister says, do you know what? I never knew what Dad used to talk to him about. But the other day she says, Ali, that's her son's name, she goes, he turned around and he said, oh yeah, do you know, she says, oh yeah, Granddad said that you were born. It was very hard when the partitioning was happening, apparently. My mum was having my sister and he had to go out and look for a midwife, and she says, did you know that? I said, no, I didn't know anything. She says, he said that to my son. She said, I didn't know anything about it.
How amazing.
How amazing, and he said, he turned around and said, Mum, did you not know that? She goes, no, I didn't know anything about that, So she says, he says, oh, he told me loads of stories like that. And he's like, why didn't you tell us? She says, my nephew, who is 30 years old, my son who's 30, he's telling me now. Did you know that, Mum? These two, G and Sphere, they always tease me because they say, don't ask Mum because she can't remember anything. She don't remember anything. And yet, when I come out with these things, they say, how do you remember that? And you can't remember what you did yesterday, what you did, you don't remember your teenage years a lot or anything like that. And I said, well, some things when it happens, you don't forget. And they say sometimes bad things you don't kind of forget. But I think even to now, if I saw the house, I would recognise it. It'd probably be a different colour now or anything, but
what colour was it?
It was funny because all the houses they were made they weren't made of bricks, they were made like concrete, and they were always painted, so it was like that deep red colour.
Oh wow!
A deep red, kind of burgundy deep red colour. What people used to colour here in the 1970s, I remember when we came here, your front step. Because it used to be grey or something like that. People used to paint it, and you kind of painted that dark red colour.
Wow.
And that's the colour the whole house was painted in the front, the balcony and the actual step thing was all red. The stairs on the side were all red. Because it was all stone or concrete, I think, which was all made of. Because bricks were never used there anyway. It was all concrete was made of anyway. I think I can remember the smell of the sand, and when it rained, because when it rained on the sand, you get that really different smell. It's quite a nice smell in a way, because it's like, oh, it's rained and it's like lovely, it's that dampness, but it's just nice. It's a lovely smell because it's gone in the sand, and the sand brings out that. I think I would just I just remember that bit of smell. And on the beach, the smells would be of the food, them just barbecuing the actual mogul, doing that, the smells of that, yeah.
That sounds lush.
I know, and again, it's things like that which you feel like, I really feel like Sophia's missed out on, and if I lived there longer, I would have had a lot more on that. And even my sister was saying this to me. She says, it's such a shame that we lived in that country, but we never explored it. We never saw so much of it, like going to safaris and things like that. Again, because you didn't have the money and you were poor, so you couldn't really do a lot of things like that. And my mum and dad were very kind of straightforward, and they used to say we were poor.
Yeah.
We had decent enough to have the food on the table, but we didn't have luxury to kind of like go to to these places and all.
But they could go to school, and that was quite expensive for
Yeah,
one kid.
because you had to pay to go to school, and there were kids to pay to go to school for the uniform and stuff like that. And it was only one income, which was my dad. My mum used to be. She used to do sewing. She had a sewing machine to earn extra money, but I don't think she ever really still did that. It was for her own kids really, because everything she sewed all the clothes to dress the kids, and so it wasn't she didn't work. So it was just my dad's money, and again because my dad wasn't that educated or anything, so he wasn't in a. I don't think he was in a job which was well paid. Because he wasn't, he had the intelligence. He worked in an office, I know that, but not enough that he would be getting so much more money.
Do you know who he worked for?
No, I don't. I've got no idea who he worked there for. I've got no idea. I mean, here I know exactly where he worked, but over there I don't, no idea. Cockneys, Khojas.
Yeah.
There's another one as well. I can't remember now, but there's another one but all these, and these were all my mum's best friends. So they were all, she exactly knew who Cockneys were, Khojas were. There is another couple, I know that, another two types.
Yeah, I've been told that Wales, I think.
Yeah, there was... Yeah, because you had the Gujarati Muslims who spoke Gujarati Muslim, and then obviously you had the Hindus and the Sikhs. But within that, because like Cockneys, Khojas, and I know there's some another couple as well that she was really aware of and everything. And again, we had we knew that, and yet people coming from Pakistan, they had no idea what that is.
Yeah.
I think, well, you don't know what that is. So for that reason, like my mum, if she met a Cockney lady or something, she'd be like so excited. She goes, oh, guess what? She's like, it's like, because obviously most of the time they would be from Africa. So the memories straight away, start talking about that, So, and I know she had quite a few. She had quite a few Cockney lady friends, and she had I can't remember them, but they were very, they're quite religious, and they're quite, they do stick to their community a lot as well. Khojas, I think, always were very quite modern, even in Africa. They were really kind of like this, and they were always wealthy people. Very wealthy people. That's what I know of. That's what my mum used to say. My mum used to say they were wealthy people. They were good-looking people as well. And because she used to say, we always used to look at them. Ooh, it's nice, But she said they were very wealthy people, but lovely with it, But it's like you said, not many people say that they were poor in Africa, I mean, like I said to you, my dad didn't have enough money to get everybody out, and he needed money to be given to, borrow money to come out. And obviously in those days you didn't have these loan facilities or anything like that. And it was, like I said, it was a friend which, said, take your kids out and go, and here's the money to do it.
What was happening in Tanzania at the time, and what year did they leave?
It would be about 1965, because I was born in 1960, so I was about 4 or 5, so it would have been about 65 when we left, about there. But the reason we left was because there was a lot of turbulence it was getting a bit scary and a bit nasty. I think all I remember is like, there's going to be an attack tonight, or something like that was going on. It was like there was a lot of that all the Africans are against Asians, and there's going to be attacks. They're going to attack people in their houses and things like that. So everybody was just like trying to get out with the kids. I don't know how bad it was, but I think my dad would have wanted to get out anyway, because he wanted the kids to be educated, and being there, I don't think he knew that he could afford to do that anyway. Whereas if they came here, they probably have a better chance to do that. But yeah, it would have been about that. But I don't remember anything bad like that, which kind of like thought, no, oh God, what was that? I think it was the fear created that this is happening, or that's happened, or in another village this has happened now, or in another town this has happened now. So it was like, well, don't want to take any chances, just let's get out of here. Can't live in this fear now. And my mum and dad didn't have anything to lose anyway. It's people with the money who were absolutely kind of like devastated, because they couldn't take anything with them.
Yeah.
They could not take a penny with them, whereas we didn't have anything to take with us anyway, so. But my mum managed to bring a sewing machine from there.
Amazing. Did you still have that?
Yeah, we still have it, yeah. It's at my brother's house, yeah, we still got that, yeah. It was a proper cabinet machine, and my mum was very proud of it, because she said that your dad bought me this from his, I don't know, particular wages or something, because we kind of like wondered how that came. My friends were Hindu, and they were from Africa as well, and their parents, when I would go round to their house, their mum would say something. Yeah, if I was in Africa, I would be doing this, or in Africa we used to do this, isn't it? And I could contribute to that, and I said, yeah, my mum used to say that or like that. I think the very common thing always spoken was that the people who came from Africa are a lot more sociable, open-minded, to able to get on with other communities, and they were Hindu people. My friends were Hindu, and they came from Africa as well, and yet they had the same frustrations. The Hindu people who came from India, they couldn't get on with them. So it was the same thing there. Missing out, I think, when I remember the beach thing, that's what I do miss out, because I think, well, if I was a teenager there, what would it have been like?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like when my mum used to tell the stories, and we used to think, oh, that's you did that, and look at us, we can't, and you don't even let us go down, and you kind of like, and she used to say that we used to go to everybody's temples and everybody's religions, all the occasions, whatever it was, everybody used to go, and nobody was stopped. So, and so can you imagine the social life there? Even if you were poor, and that's what she used to say, even that you were poor, but your social life was absolutely brilliant, because you still had all these things to do, and they didn't cost you anything. All they costed was love, you just had love for each other, because when you made food, you tell them to come and eat here, or whatever you make, you exchange or whatever. Yeah. So that thing, that's what you did miss, and you could see the difference between the people coming from India or Pakistan. That wasn't there as much as the people coming from Africa, and even till this day, you can see I can see the difference straight away. Sophia will never see that because she's not experienced it. She won't understand it, but I will. I do still can see it. And me and my sister always talk about that. We all can say that, you know. Even G's parents talk to me about that. I mean, he's Sikh and I'm Muslim, so you know and his sister-in-law, I think she's born here, but they're originally from India, and G's parents will say to me that there's always a difference, isn't it, when you come from Africa? It's different, isn't it? And I know what they mean, because it's a different kind of a love, it's a different kind of a friendship you have with the person than a person which is, you know, it comes from there, you know. It's a different, because they can't understand, they're never going to understand what kind of a life you had. But this is where I think that's what, I mean, I'm still lucky because I had Hindu friends, I had black friends, I had white friends, I never had any Pakistani friends. But my mum said, she said all her friends were all from different backgrounds, from all different countries. And because I remember once somebody, because when we came to this country, my name was very, very different. Sameera, nobody, especially with from the Pakistan people, and they said, "Oh, where did you get that name from?" You know, because they never heard the name apparently in Pakistan or wherever, I don't know, but they hadn't heard the name so much, and they said, "Oh, my mum said, oh, my next door neighbours were Arabic, and their daughter was called that, and I always said that if I have a daughter, I'm going to call her that." And then she said, that's where the name is from. It's an Arabic name. And they go, yeah. And as years went on, there were so many Sameeras, it was unbelievable.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, when I first was here, like,
You were the original.
I was the original, like, you know, like, oh yeah, cheesed off a bit now. Where Earlhouse Street is, which is off Melbourne Road, so off Melbourne Road, there's Burner Street, which is off that as well, and we lived on the top of a shop. So when we came to Leicester, we didn't have enough money to buy a house or anything, so my dad rented a place on this top of this shop, and it was a corner shop, and the shop was being used at the bottom, but we lived on the top of the shop, so we were in that area where the school, which would be in that area, but for some reason I think the school was full or something like that, and somehow, I don't know, my dad found out, or how it happened, I don't know, but I went to the most furthest school you can think of, and it was totally white.
Yeah.
And this was, at that time we used to call them junior schools, because I was like a primary school. I was 5, so I would go to a primary school. And that was this end of town. That school was this end of town. So, and we were in Highfields, so we were miles. But they used to have a bus. From that area in Highfields, they used to have a bus. What the kids used to go in the bus, and they used to take us to that school. And there must have been only about probably 20 of us, not even that, I think there was only about 10 of us. I can't even remember who else used to go in the bus with me, but I remember going to the bus, my mum taking me to the bus, and I didn't know any different, but as I grew up, I realised that I went completely to a different area school. And when I loved it, really enjoyed it. I didn't have any problems there. I weren't bullied or anything like that. I remember one teacher very, very clearly again, and his name was Mr. Green, and I can't remember that. I can't understand how I remember that. And he couldn't call me Sameera, so he used to call me Sam. So from there, I was called Sam and not Sameera. But at that time, I didn't realise. I didn't bother me that he called me Sam. I thought, well, whatever, call me Sam, But then when I came to secondary school, I kind of started to change that a bit. So I thought, no, I want to be called Sameera, not Sam. But there was still, majority of the time I was still called Sam, Sometimes even my family used to call me Sam, Never my mum and dad though. But yeah, school was great. Catching the bus, going so far, I felt quite proud going far away. I was going into this posh school really. At that time we thought it was a really posh school, and extreme end of town. But and it was all 90% white kids. I don't remember having any problems at all. I must have been very lucky, I had a lovely time really. I had a great time there. And then remember again, same thing again happened with my secondary school. There's a school which is off East Park Road. It used to be called Moat Road. Now that's school where all the Asians went to. All the immigrants, all the Asians used to go there. And again, I don't know what happened. I didn't get to go there. I went again to the furthest school you can think of, which again was this end of the place, and that was a secondary school. It was a girls' school, and again it was quite it wasn't a, I would say in those days it was a bit of a posh school really, and it was a girls' school. It wasn't mixed, so it was a girls' school, and beside it was a boys' school. But we weren't allowed. We had to leave. Either the girls left 5 minutes earlier before the boys left, or the boys left earlier 5 minutes or something. But it was a separate school, girls and boys separate school, and But I loved walking all that time. I can't believe it. We walked all that way together. You know what I mean? It was like God, But that was part of it, I think. You kind of enjoyed it, really. I think it was part of freedom as well. But I know that sometimes if my friends' brothers were walking, if they kind of like met us halfway and they were walking with something, and I remember one day my mum seeing it from the window or something, or my dad or somebody saw, a couple of boys walking with us, and they didn't like that. Why are these boys walking with you? And I'm like thinking, they're our brothers, what can we do? Yeah. But I was saying that to Sophia, I said, we couldn't even walk with the boys. She says, really? I said, yeah.
How do you find that with her generation? Like, do you think some of those things still apply in, like, you being a parent now?
Yeah, I wouldn't get as upset like my parents did about, that if you're walking with a boy, don't do that, what people will say. But I kind of like, in a way, made it that she can talk to me about it. Whereas that was the most saddest part in our lives, that we could not talk to our parents about any of, if you liked a boy or anything like that. That just doesn't happen. So I've kind of made that relationship with her now. I'm still a mum. I don't believe in being a friend to my daughter. I believe in being a mum, but a mum who is you're able to talk to. So, because one day I just said to her, I said, oh, do you like anybody? And she got all kind of like embarrassed and everything. She said, oh, why are you asking me that? I said, well, when I was young, I liked somebody. If I liked somebody, I couldn't say to anybody. I couldn't tell my mum and dad or anybody like that. I said, if you do, and in the future as well, I said, I would like you to tell me, so we can, share anything. And then she said, yeah, I did like somebody, but I don't like him anymore. I thought, well, that's good. That's a good start, But I turned it round that way. And, but then I made her laugh, and I said, yeah, if I walked with a boy, my mum and dad would get really angry about it, But I still would question her if she came out of the school gate, and if it was only her and a boy walking out together. I always say to her, oh, who's that then? And so yeah, it's there, but probably done in a different way. But I think the one thing I would say is, in a way, it's quite good that that Sphere is in a mixed school, boys and girls. That's one thing which I would say that I didn't benefit from. I didn't know how to cope with male people when I left school, because I started to work. I didn't go to college or anything like that. But when I left school, I started to work, and I was in an environment where there were grown-up men. There weren't young boys or kids there. It was grown-up men. From a school, you're put into this grown-up place where they're men, they're not boys, they're not like even 19, 20, they're like grown up, they've got kids or, something like that. So you kind of like, it was hard for me to actually, how to take their comments, or even how, all kind of conversation, how the conversation can go and everything. That I would say I didn't benefit from. But then it didn't, you go through it and you're right. Then after that, I was like really lucky, because I worked for, I was working at Next, and we were only 2 women in that department, and the rest of it all men. So there were young people and older people, and that was great. So I just got to know how to, deal with people and everything. Got to know my personality, how I am, how I come across to men, really, what they think of me like. So they used to have this African boy who used to come and, when my mum was pregnant, he used to come and help her out of doing the washing of the clothes and stuff like that. And he used to adore my mum. He used to like, and he used to say, Mama, there's a snake around the baby, there's a snake near the baby. And she goes, all right, okay. But then I don't know whether he told her that. I think he said that to her, or who told her. Said that apparently, I don't know whether this story is true or not, or is it just a myth, but apparently a snake goes blind in front of a pregnant woman. Now, whether this is a myth or what, but I don't know. But my mum took it for real and decided to go for it. And she actually killed it, and she kind of like got a hold of it, and it was like just a few inches away from the baby. Wow. Yeah. So she apparently, I think he must have said it, because obviously Africans are very knowledgeable with, believing. But I think he said to her, you're pregnant, you'll be all right, because they go blind, apparently. Now, whether it's true or not, never looked into it. Should look into it, really. But she apparently did, and she did kill it. And I said to her, are you making this up or what? She goes, no, I actually did. And my dad was alive, and then my dad said, yeah, she did. Because she said she told me when I came back from work. By the way, I just killed the snake.
That's so amazing.
Yeah. So